Good evening, this is BrassTacks. I'm Zachar Jacob. It's a case of complete and total civic apathy. Today, a metro pillar in the under-construction part of the Bengaluru Number Metro fell on a woman and her 2.5-year-old child, killing both of them. A city whose civic infrastructure is bursting at the seams. This is the latest instance of misplaced priorities. When the city's lawmakers, and remember there are 28 of them, from the city of Bengaluru, they should be talking about better roads, better connectivity, better civic infrastructure. Instead, all of the campaign talk has been around hijab and halal and Tipu Sultan. Karnataka goes to polls within the next couple of months, and should the plight of the young woman who was killed today, 25-year-old Tejaswini, and her young, very, very young 2.5-year-old son Vihan, and millions of such ordinary Bangaloreans who literally are put through the ringer just to get to work and back, should that be the number one issue this election season? Should that be the number one issue on which Netas campaign this election season? Or will it be once again sabotage by divisive and polarizing issues instead?
This is the moment when an under-construction metro pillar collapsed in Bengaluru, crushing 25-year-old Tejaswini and her 2.5-year-old son Vihan to death. Tejaswini was riding pillion while her husband was driving their bike in Bengaluru's Nagavara area. The couple were both wearing helmets and their twin children, a son and a daughter, were with them. While they were passing through the stretch, a 40-feet-long iron metro pillar crashed on them. Tejaswini and Vihan suffered grievous injuries and died in hospital, while the husband and daughter are still being treated.
ಇದು ಪಿಲ್ಲರ್ ಬಂದು 4-5 ದಿವಸದಿಂದ ಅಲ್ಲಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದೆ. ಯಾರು ರೆಸ್ಪಾನ್ಸಿಬಿಲಿಟಿ ತಗೊಳ್ತಾ ಇಲ್ಲ. ಅವ್ರ ಕೆಲಸ ಬೇರೆ ಸರಿಯಾಗಿ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇಲ್ಲ ಸರ್. ಬೆಳಗ್ಗೆ 10:05ಕ್ಕೆ ಇದು ಒಂದೇ ಸತಿ ಬಿಟ್ಬಿಟ್ಟಿಗೆ ಇವರು ತಾಯಿ ಮಗು ಮತ್ತು ಗಾಡಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ಹೋಗ್ತಾ ಇದ್ರು.
The iron bars of the pillar had been fixed but were yet to be concretized. It was part of Number Metro's operations to Kempegowda International Airport, which is set to be open to the public by the end of the year.
This kind of incident should not happen in the future. For that, whatever is the required additional measures which has to be taken, which the team will suggest, accordingly we'll work on that.
The tragedy in Bengaluru comes at a time when the Bombay government is being accused of cutting corners and hiring contractors who use low-quality raw materials.
ನನಗೆ ಈಗ ತಾನೇ ನೀವು ಹೇಳಿದ ಮೇಲೆ ಸುದ್ದಿ ಗೊತ್ತು. ಅದು ವಿಚಾರಣೆ ಮಾಡ್ತೀವಿ, ಯಾಕೆ ಬಿತ್ತು ಏನು ಬಿತ್ತು ಅಂತ. ಆ ಕಾರಣನೂ ಕೇಳ್ಕೊತೀವಿ ಮತ್ತು ಅವ್ರಿಗೆ ಏನು ಪರಿಹಾರ ಕೊಡಬೇಕು ಅದು ಕೂಡ ಕೊಡ್ತೇವೆ. ಸಂಪೂರ್ಣವಾದಂಥ ಮಾಹಿತಿ ತಿಳ್ಕೊಂಡು ಮತ್ತೆ ರಿಯಾಕ್ಷನ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೀವಿ.
This is the quality of 40% commission ಸರ್ಕಾರ. When they give 40% commission, what quality they can give?
This is not the first time that Bengaluru residents have died due to glaring civic apathy in the city. Killer potholes have claimed the lives of countless motorists, and the city's IT corridor sinks with even one spell of heavy rainfall. With no lessons learned, who will be held accountable for Bengaluru's civic mess?
That's the question we're asking tonight. Who should be held accountable? The BBMP, the BMRCL, the crumbling infrastructure of the megapolis that Bangalore is. We're opening up our phone line. 0120-434-1895 is our number. Who is responsible for Bengaluru's mess is the question that we're asking. And you can participate by calling on that phone number. We'll put you on air on BrassTacks tonight. Joining us, Lakshmi Ashwin Gowda is the spokesperson of the Karnataka BJP. Lavanya Ballal, spokesperson of the Congress Party. Priya Chetty Rajagopal is a concerned citizen and founder of Heritage Beku. Shekhar Vijayan and Saurav Kumar, civic rights activists, are also joining us. Let me start with you, Lavanya Ballal. What the BJP has been saying is that, look, this is an accident. Things like this can't be foreseen or foretold. And what best can be done, which is in terms of compensation for the victim and her child, that has been done. This could have happened at any point of time, at any regime. What's the need to politicize it, as the Congress and the JDS seem to be doing?
Good evening. This is nothing to do with politicizing this particular incident. You know, somebody must be held accountable, and I think for far too long, the bureaucracy in our nation has not been held accountable. You know, there is usually the case of, somebody gets suspended and then nothing happens. There is an inquiry. The officer is suspended for some time, or his transfer is suppressed for some time, and then he's back at work. But I think the way we view the entire incident should be very different. I think we should look at it as how we look at murder cases in other countries. I think that's how we should equate this incident and look at it that way. Because for the last few months or few years, if you have seen, Bengaluru infrastructure is known as Bengaluru roads are known as killer roads.
Yeah.
Our potholes are often in news because of the people dying in Bengaluru roads, and they are saying there's no problem with the kind of construction. If there was no problem, if the construction was perfectly fine, then why did this pillar, fall? BMRCL should be held accountable for this.
No, the pillar was being moved from point A to point B. This is in the KR-Puram to Hebbal stretch of the Namma Metro, which connects all the way to the Kempegowda International Airport. While this movement was happening, the girder broke and it fell. Now, the large question that needs to be asked, and I'm going to ask this to Lakshmi Ashwin Gowda of the BJP, who decided that traffic should continue as normal? Traffic should have been stopped at the time that these heavy pillars were being moved. Number two, the BMRCL comes out and says we've sent notices to the subcontractor and the engineers there. The decision to move these pillars was not taken by the subcontractors and engineers. The decision to not stop the traffic at that time was not taken by these junior level officials. The question that's being asked, Lakshmi Ashwin Gowda, is somebody needs to be held to account for this. BMRCL MD comes out and puts out a statement saying it's a technical fault. But are you going to say that to the family of Tejaswini and Vihan, that they died because of a technical fault?
My deep, heartfelt condolences to the bereaved souls. This very unfortunate incident shouldn't have happened. That has happened today in morning. There was saying that and in addition to that, our party is ready to take stringent action against the person involved behind it. BMRCL technical fault was there. As prima facie, it is looking like that. So our chief minister has ordered probe to deeply investigate into the issues. We'll take an impartial investigation into the issue. We'll deeply probe the issue and will bring the culprits into the light and will give them stringent punishment possible and will enforce stringent measures not to see the recurrence of the incidences again. Second one, by giving compensation to the family, definitely will not get the souls back, bereaved souls.
Yeah.
The BJP government has been so much proactive, pro-citizen government. It was always binding, it was always dedicated to the safety of its various citizens. This unfortunate incident, what has happened today, might be some miscreants behind the BMRCL technical unit. So we'll bring them into the notice, we'll bring them into the light, and we'll give them stringent punishment possible, and we'll see not to see this incident again.
I want to go to the citizens activists who are also on the panel tonight, but before that, I think our phone lines are really buzzing tonight. A lot of callers are calling us from Bengaluru and other cities as well. It's not just a civic apathy is not just a Bangalore problem. It's a problem across cities in this country. I want to get our first caller in. Dr. Kochar is calling us from Mohali next to Chandigarh. Dr. Kochar, good evening. Your thoughts on what happened today in Bengaluru?
Yeah, good evening. I was looking at the news that some pillar of a overhead bridge was being constructed and all that, or removed from another place. It doesn't matter whether it was being removed or whether it's a new one. How does it matter?
Yeah.
The two lives, a kid and the mother has gone. We should not emphasize on that point that the pillar was being removed from one place to other. The precaution may not differ whether it's a new construction or this one. Number one, traffic should have been stopped on that path to the other lanes. For example, if there are 4 lanes, for example, on the red bridge, it should have gone to the other side. On the 2 lanes. 2 lanes should have been blocked, or whichever was required, how much. Number 2, the contractor's previous record, if there is any, and which is not to be, update about this structure being made and all that sensitive structure.
Okay.
When the traffic is heaviest traffic is going on in Karnataka. Bengaluru is not a small city.
Yeah.
Number 3, we have given some people have come, politicians have come, I heard few of them. We have paid them compensation. Sir, imagine if this something happens, someone near and dear one, within your family, within your relatives, within your close friends, then you should know, you would not have said this statement.
All right, Dr. Kochhar, thank you for your call. Let me get in more callers. Ramesh is calling us from Bangalore. Yeah, Ramesh, good evening.
Hey, good evening. And first, a very sad day here to see all the news here, what's happening. But the thing is this, that in India, generally, everywhere, human life sacrifice is most important for getting things right. It be a pothole, and anything that happens, the media comes in and all the thing happens, and then what happens is that, administration comes into act and things will be get right. I'm sure that this also will be one more such thing. Things will be put into,
All right.
better.
All right. Thank you for your call. Jagannathan is calling. I'm not sure if things get actually right, but anyway, I'll ask Priya Chitti Rajgopal that in a moment. Jagannathan, and then I'll go to our guest. Yeah, Jagannathan.
Yeah, good evening. Calling from Bengaluru. It's one more sad day in Bengaluru for the citizens to have died on the road because of the apathy of the various government organizations. I think it's high time the government thinks of outsourcing its arm. BBMP and other such parts of the government have failed the citizens miserably. Not only this government, any political party government, this is not a new thing in Bengaluru.
Okay.
If the state government cannot do, probably the central government should intervene and do whatever necessary to make Bengaluru the beautiful city that it was to her pristine glory.
All right, Jagannathan, thank you for your call. Priya Chitti Rajgopal, one of the callers said, human life gets lost, such tragedy happens, and then things get better. Do they? I mean, from whatever I've seen, we saw last monsoon how entire that Marthahelli, that ring road belt completely got submerged. We have seen time and again Bellandur Lake and other lake overflowing. We have seen pothole deaths in Bengaluru. As of 2021 statistics, 654 people have died in road accidents in Bengaluru city alone. Do things actually get better? Do the politicians actually care at all?
From the point of view of a Bangalorean right now, I think there's a lot of sadness. When you see something like this happening, I think I just need to take a second to say that just imagine twin children and their parents going to school and something like this happening. One parent and one child is dead today. The other two are battling for their lives. And this is all avoidable. We can also say that, bad things happen. It's so unfortunate. This is an avoidable accident. We can make all the sounds, the platitudes that make us feel better. The fact is it's happened. So let's acknowledge that. The second thing is it preventable? Yes, it is. And it is especially preventable because, to give credit to BMRCL, I think in terms of structure, in terms of the way they manage the SOPs, they're quite organized and quite structured in the way they go about it. So I'm surprised something like this has happened. I do feel, and I've been saying this for a while, that BMRCL functions too much like a monolith. They seem to be accountable only to themselves. They very rarely take inputs or feedback from citizens around or consultations. And I think that's something which reflects in something like this that has happened. So if a BMRCL, which has got that structure, has had this happen, we can imagine what some of the other parastatals are seeing. And the conversation about compensation, I think, is below par. It really shouldn't come up. I mean, these are assumptions that one can make. One cannot take away the family. But from a Bangalore perspective, I'm troubled by two things. One is the way we talk about ourselves as our brand image is being affected. As if that is something that is relevant at this point. Our brand image is something that is sustained for many different reasons. And an accident like this is not something that is so minor that it just affects the way we are perceived. I think structurally, from foundation, we really have to look at a couple of things, which is how much do we value life and how much do we value process and how much accountability are we willing to take? Okay. It goes right up to the top. And I do believe they have had some fantastic IAS officers at the helm of BMRCL. But down the ranks, I think in terms of the kind of coordination and pressures that they have, they really need to get their act together a lot more.
Shekhar Vijayan is also joining us. The other problem is that while these should be the number one issues, the talking points, these should be the concerns of the 28 elected legislators from the city of Bengaluru, what are we seeing in public conversation over the last 3 to 6 months? The issues that are dominating, we have an election coming up in the state in the next couple of months. Politicians are busy talking about hijab and halal and Tipu Sultan. Is that what matters to the citizens of the state?
No, I don't think that really matters. I think what's really important is accountability and responsibility. And I think heads should roll. This is not the first time an infrastructural issue like this is happening. We've had floods like this in the past, which your channel has covered very extensively. And it just takes one downpour for Bangalore's infrastructure to just break. Unfortunately, we lost human lives, and there is no accountability and responsibility from our elected representatives. There is no think tank in place. There is no action plan in place. And it's so ironic. Bangalore has an app for everything. In Bangalore, they call it the silicon capital of the world. And we have so many brainy people around us. But unfortunately, our infrastructure just does not keep pace. The infrastructure only comes alive when the Prime Minister of India makes a trip to Bangalore. And I think he should make a trip every day. But that's not a solution. That's a band-aid solution. I think the problem here lies in the fact that our elected representatives are just fighting amongst themselves irrespective of party, and while human life is at stake. And public memory is short. People will die tomorrow. We'll get back to our
People talk about city governance.
This is very gross negligence.
Who is the mayor of Bengaluru? I don't know who the mayor of Bengaluru is. The BBMP, I don't think, has had a council session in the last 2 to 3 years.
Yes.
Political parties, like I said, the ones, obviously because of the nature in which electoral politics functions, there are 200 seats outside of Bengaluru, there are 28 seats in Bengaluru. Nobody really cares. The balance of power is outside of the capital. Who do citizens go to, Saurav Kumar? I mean, you can't go to the BBMP because there's no functioning BBMP. There is no mayor. There is no city governance of any record to speak of. You can't go to your legislators because they know that the media will create a hullabaloo every time there is a tragedy, there's an accident like this. The media will move on to the next story in the news cycle, and then people will forget about it. There is no incentive today for whether it's the 28 legislators or whether it is, I think, about 7 ministers who come from the Bengaluru region in the Bombay government. Not one of them has gone today and met with the family and consoled them, or come out and said that, we will fix this, we will address this issue. The problem is the lack of accountability is because there is no fear of disincentive. They will still win elections. People who vote for them will still continue to vote for them. And that is why it is a tragedy in Bengaluru that the elected officials are not being held accountable, and that's why you have this, frankly, and I'm saying this with a great degree of caution and conservatism, it is third-rate quality of life. That's what it is. It is first world dreams and first world software and silicon technology, but it's third-rate infrastructure for a supposedly city with first world ambitions. Saurav Kumar.
I wouldn't disagree with you at all that the state of affairs in Bangalore currently is really poor. When it comes to BMRCL, I don't even see that common man, in fact, can also reach out to them for, let's say, if somebody finds a fault during the construction phase that is happening. That surprises me too. I mean, we've been working in the area of fixing potholes for now almost 6 to 7 years. BBMP has in fact come up with a lot of interesting applications, though we are yet to see it functioning to the best of its capacity. But when it comes to BMRCL, yes, as you rightly said, people are clueless as of now that how do we even reach out if, let's say, we find a fault over there. And let me tell you another very interesting data. My team was doing a survey across the corridor of Outer Ring Road in Bangalore, and we found this is really unfortunate that this accident has happened. Of course, it is because of lack of planning that this particular incident has happened, and somebody has lost life, and the family is devastated. But at the same time, you see the condition of footpath, you see the condition of lights, you see the number of potholes. This is enormous. I mean, if proactively these things are not sorted, it's just another maybe another few days when we will be talking about another issue of people losing their life because of these issues happening during the construction phase, and it has to be proactively dealt. It cannot be just dealt when there is a calamity or there is a accident that has happened. That's what we've been doing. That's what we've been working towards. And suggestions, I don't know who to go out to and give suggestions to, but there is a lack of infrastructure for sure.
Okay, so let me get in more callers. The BBMP Commissioner, Tushar Girinath, said that the corporation spends annually 30 crore rupees to fix potholes. I really want to know where this money, this 30 crores, is going every year to fix potholes. As of 2021, like I said, NCRB data says that Bangalore had the highest number of road accident deaths. 654 people died in the year 2021. And I believe in the year 2022, we don't have official figures for 2022, but that number is higher. It's upwards of 700 in the year 2022. Sheshadri is calling us from Bangalore. Sheshadri, good evening, sir.
Good evening. See, the corruption levels here in Bangalore is the highest. And I have several times marked this to the BBMP administrator, Mr. Tushar Girinath, that the expansion joints of various flyovers are giving away, but nothing is being done. And next tragedy would be the Hebal flyover, where you can feel the tremors when you park the car on the flyover. So the people are not bothered. They will give compensation from the taxpayers' money and then just get away with no accountability. There should be a bill on the accountability for politicians.
Yeah. All right. Thank you for your call. Debashish is also calling us from Bengaluru. Yeah, Debashish.
Thank you. I've been living in Bangalore on and off for last 50 years. I think the situation is out of control.
Mm-hmm.
There are 1.3 crore people congested over here.
Mm-hmm.
There's no public transport, so naturally these things are going to happen. And apart from saying that, whether it's two-wheeler driver or a four-wheeler driver, no point in blaming anybody because we ourselves are so indisciplined. How do you think that the government can do a audit or do something? It's just perhaps I am a bit of a pessimist, but I'm seeing this beautiful city has already crashed down.
All right. Debashish, thank you for your call. Imran is also calling us from Bengaluru. Imran. Imran, are you there? All right. We'll go to our next caller. Mr. Ramachandra is calling us from Hubli. Mr. Ramachandra.
Yeah, good evening. I come from this Karnataka itself, and I've been working for 13 years. So I keep on traveling a lot. First of all, I request 2 minutes of your time so that I can give a little bit of, what I am feeling now. I just saw the news now. My heart goes towards those family, who are lost there. And I am a supporter of Mr. Modi. There is no doubt about that. But the insensitive remark, about the compensation by the Chief Minister was I feel was a very insensitive remark. I request, any advocate or, any lawyer seeing this news, to file a case against those people. It is not about a Congress or a BJP. It's about the culture or the system we have built, in so many years in India to get away, the rich people get away. So someone should be punished for this act so that anywhere across the country, this is not repeated. And I keep on traveling to the local upcountry market also. Whenever there is a road diversion, the roads are filled with only mud and stones. So you just imagine the path, which we travel are so tough, and we don't get probably security like, how a chief minister or a minister gets, is escorted by the other vehicles. So common people life has to matter. Then only this will get stopped by any government.
All right. Thanks,
so
Ramachandra, for your call. Let me also play out, and I want you to, think about the state of mind of this gentleman today. His name is Lohit. He's Tejaswini's husband. He was driving the bike when this pillar fell on his family. They have 2 twin children, 2.5 years old. The son died today. The daughter has survived, and so has the husband. He spoke and he recounted what happened. This is what Lohit had to say.
I was supposed to drop them to the concerned place, and I was supposed to leave from there. But by that time, this within a fraction of second this incident happened. I was not able to get a control also. So as soon as I saw back, my wife and my kid they were fallen and nothing was there in my hand. सर अभी क्या बोल सकते हैं, मेरा तो सब कुछ खत्म हो गया, बस आगे ऐसा ना हो, दूसरों के लिए ऐसा ना हो, वो सभी सेफ्टी प्रिकॉशंस वो सभी ये करके करे बस.
All right. I mean, he's saying that in a fraction of a second, I lost everything. Half his family is not there today. Lakshmi Gowda, I mean, surely Lohit deserves better. Bangalore deserves better. Citizens of Bangalore deserve better. I mean, my heart goes out to that young man.
We are totally saddened by the incident. We are really deeply concerned about the incident, and our Chief Minister has already probed deeper investigation into the incident to bring those culprits into the light and to give them stringent punishment possible in order to enforce stringent measures not to see the recurrence again. So this might.
Lavanya Ballal wants to come in, and then we've got one more caller. Yeah, Lavanya Ballal.
Quickly, in all these compensation and all these sympathies will not bring that family back together again. Also, the thing about, if you remember, just a couple of days ago, Nalin Kumar Katil, the state BJP chief, asked us to focus on love jihad and not on infrastructure. Is a BJP party going to stand by the same, party stand even now, that we need to focus on other issues and not killer infrastructures? And yesterday they were releasing a book about Siddaramaiah filled with fake news. I mean, look at the priority of the BJP party, which has been ruling this state for almost 3.5 years now. Bangalore deserves better. Like you very correctly said, Bangalore deserves better. Our people deserve better.
All right. I also have one more caller. Retired Commodore GJ Singh is an old Bangalore resident. He's also joining us on the phone line. Commodore, yes. Go ahead, sir.
First of all, Zaka, I want to say what kind of impression message we are sending across the world, because this is a world-famed city and it's a destination of the people who are associated with the IT industry and all that. And this is something which I feel so sad that when it comes to the condition of roads, making of this metro, because this place where this accident took place is very close to the place where I stay here in Bangalore, Nagwara. And this, if you go there, you find totally messed up road. I mean, there are no proper arrangements. It reflects a laid-back attitude, total apathy on the part of the government. I think people who are overarching this, supervising this project, right from top to bottom, to the junior-most supervisor, people need to be fixed up. People need to, this accident which has taken the responsibility rests on them.
Okay.
Right from the, the person who is super in charge, minister, down to the engineers and all those people. I mean, this is something which you can't have here in this country, in a city like Bangalore, which has become now the, in the public eye, it's a world destination.
All right,
It's
Commodore,
very
thank you very much
unfortunate.
for your call. And I echo your sentiments as a long-time resident of Bangalore. I think there is a lot of anger tonight in the city, in its residents. And you have a chance once in 5 years, and perhaps in a democracy, that is, I guess, the only leveler that we have. Once in 5 years, politicians will come asking you for your vote. So ask them what happens to Tejaswini and Vihan. How will they be compensated? Will, God forbid, another Tejaswini or Vihan be stopped by the authorities? They cannot afford to be, in a world-class city like Bangalore, deaths because of potholes, deaths because pillars are falling, because somebody decided to have heavy-duty construction happen at the same time as traffic was moving in the city. So these are questions that you need to ask to your elected representatives. Meanwhile, let's shift focus here on the program to the second big story that we're tracking on BrassTacks. It's a movie that's been much loved across the country and yet also much maligned. It was one of the biggest blockbusters of 2022 at a time when people were not willing to go to the theatres because of Corona. Kashmir Files is part of 300-plus films that are in contention for the Oscars. The director and the lead actor claim that this was a shortlist and it's a vindication of their effort. will this silence critics of the film, including Israeli filmmaker Nadav Lapid, who called Kashmir Files a piece of propaganda? But first, the story.
वो खुद भाग गई गवर्नर से मिल गई जहाँ शिव सरस्वती ऋषि कश्यप हुए वो कश्मीर हमारा
Disturbed and shocked by the movie Kashmir Files that felt to us like a propaganda vulgar movie inappropriate for an artistic competitive section of such a prestigious film festival.
कश्मीर के मसले का एक ही हल अल जिहाद
इसके 32 एपिसोड आने चाहिए 22 इयर्स के 32 एपिसोड
All right, the big controversy around this film was, of course, on the back of what happened at the IFI closing ceremony a few weeks ago when the chief of the jury of the international screening panel, Nadav Lapid, the Israeli filmmaker, in fact, while he was announcing the awards of the international category, came on stage and said that Kashmir Files, in his words, was a propaganda film. That, of course, led to a huge diplomatic standoff as well. The next day, the Israeli ambassador criticized Nadav Lapid and said that he should be ashamed of what he said. It has been, like I said, a much loved, yet at the same time, much maligned film. Today, the director Vivek Agnihotri and the lead actor Anupam Kher, and we'll have an interview with him a little later on here on BrassTacks, both of them claiming vindication for their efforts, for their movie, now that it has been listed by the Oscars. It is not a shortlist. It is part of 300 films from around the world that have met the eligibility criteria for the Oscars. Ahmed Ayaz, political analyst, is joining us. Shaina NC of the BJP will be joining us. Lalit Ambardar, Kashmiri activist, and Mayank Shekhar, film critic. Ahmed Ayaz, let me start with you. A lot of people criticize Kashmir Files. Forget about, the fact that it was a work of fiction. But today, with the movie being part of a list of 300, it's called a reminders list, movies that have met the eligibility criteria to qualify for the Oscars. Do you believe that your criticism of Kashmir Files was misplaced? That at least now you should give some credit to the makers of this film, that they must have said or done something right, that it's met the Oscar eligibility criteria?
No, I don't for Oscar award. Why? Because it has to have, the positive messaging. It is aim to see that the positive message is brought down the line. But the point is, we have seen in the past, within our childhood, that there were many, very good films, which were appreciated by all. And but those have not reached this level of, going to the Oscar award level. Why this film, which was aimed to divide people, which has demeaned, shown a community in a bad light, and then biased film, which has not taken.
No, but Ahmed Ayaz, I'm not saying you don't have the right to criticize this film. You don't like this film. Don't watch this film. But to say that this is a piece of propaganda, as the Israeli filmmaker Nadav Lapid said, does that get negated now? I mean, surely you can't say that the Oscars are nominating a propaganda film.
No, sure. See, you can understand that there is, when there was the comment made by the IFI jury member. I mean, that day everybody criticized him. Why was he criticized? Because he talked on a technical base, on technicality. The technicalities was that this film did not, cover everything happening in Kashmir. It covered a particular part.
Fair enough. You can say it was one-sided. It showed only one side. Fair enough. But let me ask Shaina NC. Here are the other award ceremonies, or at least the qualifications that Kashmir Files has got. At the International Indian Film Academy, there were 2 nominations, one for the film and one for the Best Male Actor, Anupam Kher. Indian Film and Television Awards, again, nominees in 3 categories. The International Film Festival of India, it was a nominee for the Golden Peacock. The Lions Gold Awards, it was a winner for extraordinary performance. And there are numerous other award functions for which this movie has qualified. So surely something must be right about this movie for it to have qualified for all these awards. And now it is one of 300 films that have met the eligibility criteria for the Oscars. So something must be right about it.
Zaka, and the opening, let me please say that this is a matter of pride for every Indian that Kashmir Files has been considered for the Oscars. Irrespective of what the outcome is, the truth and the reality is that there was a genocide. There was a genocide where Kashmiri Hindus and Kashmiri Pandits have been completely disregarded, abused by terrorists and people trying to destabilize India, whether it was women and children who were raped or the kind of exodus that we saw. On the one hand, you have films like Schindler's List, which also speak about a genocide of a similar nature, but obviously is appreciated. And on the other, people tend to be apologetic about something that depicts Hindu propaganda or a Hindu exodus, which people term as a propaganda in terms of a film. My limited point is this, that it's a matter of pride for India. It is a matter of pride that Kashmir Files has been considered for not just the content, but also the entire making of the film. So let's not be in this this mindset of a hangover, believing that what a microscopic minority with jaundiced eyes says is the reality or the truth.
Okay, Mayank Shekhar, irrespective of what happens, maybe it will not get shortlisted further, maybe it will not be one of the nominated films, but the fact that today in what's called the reminders list, that Kashmir Files is one of 300 films from around the world that has qualified or met the eligibility criteria for the Oscars, surely, at least now that the criticism that Nadav Lapid made that it's a propaganda film, then it's like saying that the Oscars are accepting a propaganda film has met its eligibility criteria.
Well, technically speaking, you can take a camera and shoot anything if it's longer than 40 minutes, if it meets certain visual standards and audio standards, if it's had a release in one of the 6 metropolitan cities in the US for a week at least in the theaters, you qualify. And that is a qualification that this particular film has met. I have no idea where the word shortlisting has come about from. I have no idea exactly what we are celebrating in this particular thing. It could be symptomatic of something larger. Maybe there's a Western colonial hangover that even if you meet the basic audio-visual requirements to be eligible in the Oscars, we are going to be so happy about it. I don't think it's a big news. Honestly speaking, I'll tell you what was the big news. The films that have actually been shortlisted. The Elephant Whisperers has been shortlisted. All That Breathes has been shortlisted. These are Indian films. Natu Natu, the song from RRR, has been shortlisted. And of course, the next round will be the nominations. This is like you got an admission ticket to an exam. And now you have to go for the exam. That doesn't mean anything at all, right? So
no,
much as we wish the film
one sec,
and all 5 Indian films that have made the technical criteria.
The issue at hand is, the people who have panned Kashmir Files have said it's propaganda, it shows only one side of the story, it demonizes a community. Surely these should be disqualifying factors for this movie to be eligible for the Oscars.
No,
the fact that it is eligible, or at least has met the eligibility criteria of the Oscars, would mean that some of this criticism, if not negated, at least has been blunted.
No, there is nothing in the eligibility criteria of the Academy Awards for Best Picture that says it should not be a propaganda film. Technically speaking, let's say if this is a propaganda film, or you decide to make one, you can enter it, and it can be in the 300. There is nothing in the guidelines so far. So what is really met are the basic eligibility criterion from a completely on technical grounds. Has it played in a theater for a week? Yes. Are its audio and visual okay? Yes. I mean, in terms of technique, from thereafter, it's really people who will watch it.
No,
and if they
even
choose
in the
to thereafter
question of
nominate it,
technique, it had been criticized, saying the craft of filmmaking was not met entirely, so on and so forth. But Shaina, again, is this movie becoming a sort of political football between the ones who like this movie and the ones who hate this movie? Ultimately, the objective criteria to judge whether it is a great film or not will be done by the Academy of Motion Picture and Sciences. And even then, there's a large number of people out there who say that why should the Oscar be the ultimate affirmation of whether a movie is good or great or not? Ultimately, the bottom line is, if you have liked this movie and if you feel that this movie is bringing to you a truth which was buried, which the country was not exposed to, or at least was not aware of at a mass scale like a movie can, then so be it. Why do you need the thappa of the Academy of Motion Picture and Sciences to say that, oh yeah, this is a great movie? It is, as Mayank said, must be some kind of a colonial hangover.
So I think there is a colonial hangover, yes, certainly. But Zaka, if you ask me personally, I think the way people have targeted this film, the filmmaker, the actors, the content, I think is very unfortunate, because the fact is that there was this exodus. There were atrocities which you tried to just bury. And if it has been shortlisted, and despite the fact of whether there was propaganda or not, I think it is a matter of pride for Indians. There have been criticisms, there have been people talking about the genocide of the Kashmiris, but nobody did anything. So it's not a political issue when it comes to making of a film, but obviously the content, if it is true and has been dismissed in the past, is going to get the eyeballs that it got. So I only want to say, people who viewed this film with jaundiced eyes and tried to criticize every aspect and tried to just debunk the fact that there was this kind of atrocity against our Kashmiri Pandits, I think this is a great tribute to the facts of the history that transpired. And if there is a claim world over, irrespective, nobody needs a certificate. But if it's going to get the eyeballs and if it's going to be a course corrected in the days to come, I think we should welcome it.
Ahmed Ayaz, the criticism is that
to just
by
that an Israeli
saying,
filmmaker can come and criticize what happened and believe that this is not the way it should have been presented,
sure. No,
when nobody
Ahmed
was
Ayaz,
even asking his opinion.
The criticism
Let
is
the international world community
that
view
by
and
saying
decide.
that it's a badly made film, you can say it's a badly made film. Nobody has a problem with that. But by saying that it shows only one side of the story, or it brandishes one entire community in bad light, are you also trying to downplay or underplay what actually happened to Kashmiri Pandits? The fact is, and this is recorded history, this is not stuff that I'm making up on television, the fact is that 300,000 people fled the Kashmir Valley over a period of 10 to 15 days in January of 1990. That is a recorded fact. Yes, the movie might have exaggerated it. Yes, the movie might have shown only one side and not the other side. May have, like you said, demonized one community. Yes, of course, Muslims were also affected there. Muslims also helped their Hindu brethren at that time. But are you denying that 300,000 people were not forced to leave the valley? They were. That is a reality.
Well, Zaka, it's not the Kashmiri Pandits alone who must have suffered. See, not many things have happened in the process. So, why do we talk only one part? You see, as long as their exodus is concerned, in 90, why do you forget there is another exodus which has taken place just last year? Why do you forget that? Another exodus has taken place. So, likewise, then the target killings have started. I mean, a lot of things have happened. We are picking up one thread somewhere in between which shoots to you for your
No. Ahmed Ayaz, I think the qualitative difference in the Pandit exodus from whatever subsequent exoduses have happened from the valley is that up until then, Kashmir had this syncretic culture. It was a pride of that land. That it was a syncretic culture. It did not necessarily associate itself with a certain hardline version of Islam, which of course then later became the norm de jour. But what I'm saying is that syncretic culture got completely demolished with the exodus of the Pandit community. That is the issue.
We don't deny that.
Quick
Yeah.
point.
We don't deny that. Why don't?
Yeah, let him finish.
We don't deny that. Now, let me complete. We don't deny that even Kashmiri Pandits or anybody living around should not deny that they have been living more comfortably. People in Kashmir, whether it was a Muslim, Sikh or Kashmiri Pandits, they have been living more comfortable because why do we talk of 90 only? Why don't we talk of 47? When there was a problem throughout, and how did Kashmiri Pandits, there not even a single person got touched. I mean, that part has never been. Only negative part has been shown. There is nothing positive. There is nothing positive which has been brought in this picture.
All right.
I just want to make a point.
China wanted to make a point. Yeah.
Yes, there has been this vicious campaign of sheer criticism. I just want to say, whenever there has been an atrocity, and especially when it is the Hindus or the Kashmiri Pandits in this case, there seems to be a very apologetic stand, which is not required. I mean, this is not about majority or minority. This is about truth versus lies. And this is about what has actually happened, which needed to come out in the public fold and heads needed to roll. Now, if you are going to constantly have this apologetic stand, if it is any issue to do with Hindu Pandits or Kashmiri Pandits, or for that matter, Hindus per se, I think that's wrong. Why should we only be appeasing sections of society that are minorities? And why should we be viewing things so objectively with jaundiced eyes only because we're uncomfortable about the facts of history?
Okay.
So please, let's
all right, I've got 2 minutes to wrap up, so I'm going to give...
Exodus and genocide did happen.
Yes, Ahmed Ayaz. Yeah, quickly, after that, Mayank.
It is one of contention here is, see, a lot of things have happened. See, Karan Poshpara mass wrapping has happened. There has been a Chatti Singhpura massacre. There had been a Gaon Qatl massacre. The point is, it is not only a Kashmiri Pandit. There are other issues.
No, Ahmed Ayaz, you're missing the point. You're missing the point. The point is that if tomorrow a filmmaker wants to make a movie on the Chatti Singhpura massacre, absolutely, he or she should come forth and make that movie. By negating this movie that's been made on the Kashmiri Pandit exodus by saying, oh, what about Chatti Singhpura? What about some other massacre that happened? It's double negation. One doesn't, negate the other. You are actually trying to undermine the fact that such a mass exodus happened. And I think that's the problem with the criticism of this movie. Mayank, I'll give you the final word. Again, I keep going back to this. You can find 100 things wrong with this film. And I'm the first one to say it may not meet, a certain degree of craftsmanship. It may not be the best made movie. The camera work is bad. The lighting is bad. The acting is over the top. All of that. But to say that it is propaganda, I think Nadav Lapid should reconsider those words today in light of the fact that if the Academy of Motion Picture and Sciences, supposedly the pinnacle of all film and cinematic excellence in terms of recognition, if they find this movie eligible enough to be considered for the Oscars, or at least to be in contention for the Oscars, then that part of the criticism at least should be taken back.
Not at all. There is, as I said, Zaka, there is nothing in the criteria that needs to be met for it to be eligible that says it should not be a propaganda film. And propaganda, in any case, more or less, as it turns out with all these debates, is a subjective thing. What is one man's propaganda could be advocacy for another person, right? What a particular jury member, in fact, the chairman of jury, if he said, because you called him over, made him the chairperson, you don't want to hear what his views were, you don't want to hear what the other jury members' views were of a particular film, that makes no sense. I mean, that's what we had him over for. That's what he said. He has no reason to apologize, and he hasn't at no point. And his other jury members agreed with him too. Now, that is a personal call, but that is true for all juries, isn't it? These are always personal calls.
All right, we'll leave it at that. We'll see what comes of it at the end of the day, whether or not the movie wins an Oscar or is in contention for an Oscar, shortlisted, nominated. We don't know, but like I said, good luck to the makers of this film. With that, we're taking a quick break, but when we come back, we have an exclusive interview with the lead actor of the film, Anupam Kher, on the film being now declared eligible for Oscar nomination or Oscar entry, as it were. Anupam Kher will be speaking to us right on the other side.